In 1879, a storm was brewing in the heart of southern Africa. On one side stood the Zulu Kingdom, one of the most powerful military forces in the region, ruled by the fearless King Cetshwayo Compand. The Zulu were a proud and fiercely independent people, famed for their discipline in battle and their cultural unity. They had forged a kingdom that spanned vast territories, built on the foundations of strength and community. On the other side was the British Empire, a global superpower at the height of its imperial might. To the British, southern Africa was ripe for conquest, and they viewed the Zulu as an obstacle to their grand ambitions of expanding their dominion. Driven by a desire to control the region's resources, including fertile lands and potential diamond deposits, the British set their sights on annexing Zululand. Yet, beneath the surface, this was not just a war about territory or resources, it was a clash of two very different worlds. The Zulu fought for their land, their sovereignty, and their way of life, while the British fought to expand an empire that already spanned continents. What would unfold in the months to come would be a brutal, bloody conflict that would forever alter the fate of both nations. Before swords were drawn or shots were fired, the seeds of conflict were already planted. The British Empire, led by Sir Henry Bartle Frere, the High Commissioner for Southern Africa, had long sought control of the region. The Zulu Kingdom, with its vast land and its strategic location between British-controlled Natal and the Dutch Boer territories, represented both a threat and an opportunity for the empire. The British were not merely driven by greed for land. They feared that the Zulu military strength could disrupt their colonial ambitions in southern Africa. Under King Cetshwayo, the Zulu had maintained a formidable army, an army built on discipline, loyalty, and innovative tactics that had been perfected over decades of internal warfare and conflict with neighboring tribes. Sir Henry Bartle Frere, eager to solidify British control, sought to provoke a conflict. He issued an ultimatum to King Cetshwayo in December 1878, demanding the dissolution of the Zulu military system and the acceptance of British rule over Zululand. For the Zulu, the demands were unacceptable. To disband their army would mean the collapse of their way of life, their independence, and their identity as a proud warrior nation. With the ultimatum rejected, war was inevitable. The British, confident in their technological superiority, believed that they would quickly subdue the Zulu forces. Little did they know that the coming battles would test the limits of their empire and shock the world. The Zulu Kingdom was more than just a political entity, it was a cultural and spiritual force. Since its founding by Shaka Zulu in the early 19th century, the kingdom had grown into a formidable power through a combination of military innovation, political strategy, and a deeply ingrained warrior ethos. Shaka had revolutionized Zulu warfare by introducing the ikawa, a short stabbing spear designed for close combat, and a method of fighting that relied on swift, decisive charges. His tactics had forged the Zulu into one of the most feared fighting forces in southern Africa. By the time King Cetshwayo took the throne, the Zulu military machine was a well-oiled, highly disciplined entity, capable of mobilizing tens of thousands of warriors within a matter of days. But the Zulu were not just warriors. Their society was deeply communal, with strong bonds of family and clan. The Impi, the Zulu fighting regiments, were also cultural institutions, representing not just military might but the heart of Zulu identity. Every warrior was part of a larger whole, defending not just land but a way of life that stretched back generations. To the Zulu, the fight against the British was more than a military campaign. It was a fight for their survival, their culture, and their future as a nation. And under King Cetshwayo's leadership, they would face the coming storm with courage and resolve. The British Army, on the other hand, was the epitome of modern military power. Armed with rifles, artillery, and modern logistics, they believed themselves to be invincible against what they considered to be native forces. Their confidence was bolstered by recent successes in colonial campaigns across Africa, India, and elsewhere in the empire. The British soldiers stationed in southern Africa had little regard for the fighting abilities of the Zulu. Many of them viewed the Zulu warriors as primitive, underestimating both their tactics and their resolve. The officers, including Lord Chelmsford, commander of the British forces, believed that their superior firepower and European military discipline would quickly overwhelm the Zulu impi. But beneath the surface of their confidence lay a critical flaw: the British had little understanding of Zulu warfare. The rugged terrain of Zululand was unfamiliar to them, and their traditional European battle tactics were unsuited to the hit-and-run strategies favored by the Zulu. Moreover, logistical challenges plagued the British forces, who found it difficult to maintain supply lines in the harsh African wilderness. As the British forces advanced into Zululand, they were unaware of the disaster that awaited them, a disaster that would shake the very foundations of British imperial arrogance. On January 22, 1879, the British Empire would face one of the greatest defeats in its history. At Isandlwana, Lord Chelmsford had divided his forces, leaving a portion of his army behind while he pursued what he believed was the main Zulu force elsewhere. The soldiers left behind were ill-prepared for the battle that was about to unfold. The Zulu, executing one of their most brilliant tactical maneuvers, had managed to surround the British camp. Moving with stealth and precision, the Zulu impi, organized in their traditional horns of the buffalo formation, attacked from multiple directions, overwhelming the British forces. The British soldiers, unprepared for such an onslaught, were quickly surrounded. Despite their superior weaponry, the British found themselves unable to maintain their defensive lines. The Zulu warriors, with their short spears and shields, charged fearlessly, closing the distance too quickly for the British rifles to be effective. In a matter of hours, the British camp was decimated. Over 1,300 British and Colonial troops were killed, their bodies strewn across the battlefield as the Zulus celebrated their victory. Isandlwana was more than just a battle, it was a humiliation for the British Empire. The news of the defeat sent shockwaves through London, challenging the image of British invincibility. But for the Zulu, it was a moment of triumph, a testament to their strength and unity in the face of imperial aggression. In the aftermath of Isandlwana, the British braced for further Zulu attacks. At Rorke's Drift, a mission station along the border of Zululand, just over 150 British soldiers faced the terrifying prospect of holding off over 4,000 Zulu warriors. Unlike at Isandlwana, the British defenders at Rorke's Drift were well prepared for the coming battle. Under the leadership of Lieutenant John Chard and Lieutenant Gonville Bromhead, the soldiers constructed makeshift defenses, using everything at their disposal to fortify their position. As the Zulu forces descended upon the station, the defenders, outnumbered by nearly 30-1, prepared for a desperate last stand. For nearly 12 hours, the British soldiers fought valiantly against wave after wave of Zulu attacks. The Zulu warriors, undeterred by the British rifle fire, launched repeated charges, but the defenders, armed with rifles and positioned behind sturdy defenses, managed to repel the assault. The night echoed with the sounds of gunfire, battle cries, and the clash of steel on shields. By dawn, the Zulu forces, having suffered heavy casualties, withdrew, leaving behind a battlefield littered with the dead and wounded. Rorke's Drift, despite the overwhelming odds, had held. The defense of Rorke's Drift became legendary. 11 Victoria Crosses were awarded to the defenders, making it one of the most celebrated actions in British military history. For the British, it was a moment of redemption following the disaster at Isandlwana, a testament to courage, discipline, and determination in the face of certain defeat. The British Empire could not tolerate such losses. Isandlwana had shaken the very foundations of British military prestige, and though the defense of Rorke's Drift provided a glimmer of redemption, the war was far from over. Determined to avenge their fallen and conquer the Zulu Kingdom, the British brought in fresh troops and new technology, including artillery and Gatling guns. Under the command of Lord Chelmsford, the British forces prepared for a renewed campaign. For the Zulu, the victory at Isandlwana was a moment of great pride, but they understood the full might of the British Empire was now bearing down on them. As British columns advanced deeper into Zululand, the Zulu faced the grim reality of fighting a war of attrition. Despite their victories, they lacked the resources and firepower to match the British in a prolonged conflict. The war had entered a new phase, one in which the Zulu would continue to fight valiantly, but the balance of power had begun to shift. On July 4, 1879, the Zulu Kingdom would face its final defeat at the Battle of Ulundi. After months of bloody conflict, the British had advanced to the heart of Zululand. At Ulundi, the Zulu capital, King Cetshwayo made one last stand, rallying his warriors for a final charge against the British forces. The battle was fierce, but the outcome was never in doubt. The British, armed with modern rifles, artillery, and Gatling guns, formed a defensive square, repelling wave after wave of Zulu assaults. Despite their courage and determination, the Zulu warriors were cut down by the overwhelming firepower of the British. In less than 2 hours, the battle was over. The defeat at Ulundi marked the end of the Zulu Kingdom as a sovereign power. King Cetshwayo was captured and exiled, and Zululand was brought under British control. The once mighty Zulu nation, which had resisted imperial domination for so long, was now a subject of the British Empire. The Anglo-Zulu War may have ended in the defeat of the Zulu Kingdom, but its legacy would endure for generations. For the British, the war was a sobering reminder of the cost of imperial expansion, while for the Zulu, it marked the beginning of a long and difficult journey under colonial rule. Despite the loss of their sovereignty, the Zulu people remained resilient, preserving their culture, language, and traditions. The memory of King Cetshwayo and the warriors who fought at Isandlwana and Ulundi lived on in the hearts of the Zulu people, a symbol of their defiance against foreign domination. Today, the Anglo-Zulu War is remembered not just as a conflict between two nations, but as a profound turning point in the history of Southern Africa, a moment when an empire met its match and a proud kingdom fought for its survival. Following the defense of Lobane, Zulu forces regrouped to launch an assault on the British stronghold at Kambula. Knowing the risks, the warriors prepared for a decisive encounter, advancing with the same valor they had shown at Isandlwana. British defenses, however, were formidable. Artillery and entrenched positions made Kambula a nearly impregnable target. The battle raged with unrestrained fury, yet the sheer volume of British fire decimated the Zulu ranks. Brave warriors continued to charge, even as casualties mounted, their determination embodying the spirit of a people fighting to preserve their homeland. As British forces advanced deeper into Zululand, King Cetshwayo prepared for the inevitable, the fall of his capital, Ulundi. Refusing to surrender, he rallied his remaining warriors, urging them to fight with the same strength and unity they had shown in every battle. For Cetshwayo, this final stand symbolized the endurance of the Zulu spirit. Even as defeat loomed, he knew that the kingdom's legacy would endure, etched forever in the sacrifices of its people. On July 4, 1879, the British launched their final assault on the Zulu capital at Ulundi. Facing overwhelming firepower, the Zulu warriors fought valiantly, embodying the spirit of a kingdom that refused to yield. However, British artillery and coordinated attacks eventually shattered the Zulu defenses, leading to the collapse of the last bastion of Zulu resistance. With the fall of Ulundi, the Zulu Kingdom was conquered, and Cetshwayo was captured. The legacy of the Zulus' fierce resistance, however, left a profound mark on both sides of the conflict. After his capture, Cetshwayo was exiled to Cape Town and later to London. Despite his defeat, he remained a symbol of Zulu pride and resilience. British officials, having witnessed his courage, came to respect Cetshwayo as a dignified leader who had defended his kingdom against impossible odds. The Zulu king's exile marked the end of an era, yet his strength and resilience continued to inspire his people, ensuring that the spirit of the Zulu nation would endure, even in the face of imperial conquest. The Anglo-Zulu War was not just a war of conquest, it was a war of ideals, of cultures, and of survival. The Zulu Kingdom may have fallen, but its legacy endures. In the annals of history, the warriors who fought for their land and their freedom stand shoulder to shoulder with the greatest heroes of the past. The war may be over, but the spirit of the Zulu people remains unbroken, a testament to the enduring power of a proud and ancient kingdom.